Hello friends, very good evening. Good to see you in another current affairs 75 cross 75 session. Right, today is your 6th class if I am not wrong. Right, friends, so tomorrow we will be having one class, then we will be having class on Monday. By Monday I will be completing almost I will be completing June month current affairs. Monday I will give you June month current affairs compilation. Okay, maximum most of the topics given in the compilation I would be completing before Monday. Okay, if there is some extra topics, it means it is easily understandable, you can do it on your own, but majority I will be completing. Monday most probably I will be finishing the June month current affairs, and I will be giving you the June month material, and by Wednesday max I will give you 100 MCQs for June month current affairs. Right, fine. So our first topic, that is a water dispute which is going on between Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. We will try to understand that, but before that we should know some basics. What is that, friends? We know that 7th schedule of Indian Constitution, 7th schedule of Indian Constitution, that deals with the union list, state list, as well as something called as concurrent list. We all know this. Water supply, water storage, right, water drainage, irrigation, all these will come under state list, right. With respect to regulation and development of interstate river, right, of interstate river between two or more states, right, development of interstate river water or river valley, okay, river water, that will come under union list, entry number 56, entry number 56. There are many items, right. 56th item, if you see, it is regulation and development interstate, regulation development of interstate river waters. Okay, article number 262. If you take Indian Constitution, article number 262, that is empowering the parliament, that is empowering, article 262, that empowers the parliament to enact laws on subjects mentioned in entry 56. Okay, that is natural, union list only. But however, parliament in enacting such laws, okay, on regulating the interstate river. So here, if there is any complaint or if there is any dispute, if there is any complaint or if there is any dispute, then neither the Supreme Court or any other court has jurisdiction. Neither Supreme Court or any other court has jurisdiction on matters related to regulating the interstate river waters. If there is a complaint, if there is a dispute arises, then Supreme Court or any other court cannot, it cannot go and give a solution, because it is not coming under its jurisdiction. Parliament via law, they will find some solution. So based on this article 262, two laws were enacted. One is River Board Act, another one is Interstate Water Dispute Act, Interstate Water Dispute Act. Okay, so two laws, one is River Boards Act 1956 and Interstate Water Disputes Act 1956. So according to this River Board Act, if two or more states, if they request central government, okay, if two or more states, if they request the central government, then central government will appoint a river board. For what purpose? For regulating and developing the interstate river. Let us say Tamil Nadu, Karnataka approaches central government for setting up a river board for regulating and development and regulating and developing of Kaveri water, because Kaveri water is being shared by these states. Then central government will set up this river board. This is based on the request of states, and central government will appoint. Now, what is this Interstate River Water Act? I mean, Interstate Water Dispute Act. Okay, Interstate Water Dispute Act. So, what is that Interstate Water Dispute Act? So, according to that act, Parliament, whenever there is interstate river water dispute, then Parliament, they will be setting up ad hoc tribunals. They will be setting up ad hoc tribunal. Ad hoc means temporary. To solve that dispute, a tribunal will be set up. Okay, and this tribunal will be giving an award, and that award has to be implemented. So far, 9 such tribunals has been implemented. I mean, created. So far, to solve the river water dispute, interstate river water dispute, 9 such tribunals, ad hoc tribunals has been set up. But however, only 3 tribunals, I mean, only the award given by 3 tribunals was implemented. All other cases are still pending. Right, I have given the list of tribunals as well. So, these are the tribunals which has been set up so far. Okay, if you take the tribunal which was set up to resolve the problem of Ravi and Bias, which was set up in 86, but the problem still continues. The award is not being implemented. The award is not even given completely. Okay, so far 9 tribunals has been set up, and additional information, government has proposed a bill, okay, to merge all the tribunals and have one permanent tribunal. So, right now, if there is a river water dispute, interstate river water dispute, Parliament will set up an ad hoc tribunal, but there is a bill, a draft bill is there. In the draft bill, instead of ad hoc tribunals, the government may create a permanent tribunal. Whenever there is a river water dispute, everybody will be approaching that permanent tribunal. Okay, that is still a bill yet to come into force, right? Fine. Now, Central Water Commission, and one more thing, so this act says that on ad hoc basis to solve the problem, tribunal will be set up, and the verdict given by the tribunal is final. And the verdict given by the tribunal is final. Neither the Supreme Court nor any other court has jurisdiction over it. Okay, neither Supreme Court nor any other court has jurisdiction over it. But however, later on Supreme Court, they were saying the judicial review is the basic structure. Here judicial review is being affected. So, citing judicial review, now Supreme Court is also intervening, and many state governments using this by filing special leave petition, they are going to Supreme Court, and again Supreme Court is also giving some final verdicts, and again implementation is not proper, right. But this is what the act says, but practically speaking, since there is something called as judicial review which cannot be removed by any act, because judicial review is a basic structure. Now, using that, state governments against the award given by this tribunal, they file a special leave petition, they go to Supreme Court and they delay the process. Central Water Commission, let me also explain about the Central Water Commission. It is a technical organization in the field of water resources, It is coming under Ministry of Jal Shakti. So, what is the role of this Central Water Commission? The Central Water Commission will take efforts towards water conservation, right, water utilization. So, water takes efforts for water conservation, water utilization. For these purposes, they need to coordinate the state government. By coordinating the state governments, Central Water Commission, they go for conserving the water, utilizing the water, right, and also they manage flood control, irrigation, navigation, drinking water supply, water power development. Broadly, we can say it as its major task is water conservation and water utilization. If you go into specific, they play a role in flood control, irrigation, navigation, drinking water supply, water power management as well, and water power development as well, right. So, Central Water Commission is one topic which you have to know to understand the actual issue. So, what is the actual issue? Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, in 2014, the United Andhra Pradesh was bifurcated, right, Andhra and Telangana. So, according to the 2014 States Reorganization Act, according to that act, there will be a apex council, to oversee, to supervise the river boards which are set up for Krishna and Godavari. Now Krishna and Godavari is being shared by two states, right? More states, but here Andhra and Telangana is also being sharing it, right? So a river board has been already constituted to oversee, to regulate and develop the Krishna and Godavari river. But now an apex council is also being set up according to the 2014 States Reorganization Act. This apex council will have the Jal Shakti minister, the central minister, water minister, the central minister, water minister will be there. The chief ministers of both the states, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. So these three members will comprise apex committee. What is their role? They will overview, they will supervise the river board. They will supervise the activities of river board. Now, if either of the state, if Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, if they want to increase the utilization of Krishna or Godavari, if Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, if they want to increase the utilization of water from Krishna or Godavari, in that case, they have to get permission from the apex council. First of all, they have to get permission from river board. From river board, they have to get a nod. Apex council should say okay. Central Water Commission should also say okay. Now only after getting okay from all these three institutions, only then either of the state can increase the utilization of water. Only when after getting the nod from these states, either Andhra Pradesh or Telangana can increase the utilization of water. But however, both Andhra and both Telangana, they don't follow this procedure. Arbitrarily, they both in several instances, they started utilizing more waters from these rivers, both the states. Now Andhra Pradesh, they are coming up with a project to increase the water utilization of Krishna river from Krishna river. So against this, Telangana has raised a complaint. That is why it was in news. This is a regular affair. This is a regular issue. Often there will be an issue. Both the states, they bypass these procedures and they used to try to increase the utilization of water according to their state's need. Okay, so now it came in news because Telangana was raising complaint against Andhra Pradesh utilization of Krishna river water. Okay. Right, next topic, NIRF ranking. National Institutional Ranking Framework. I have mentioned about this National Institutional Ranking Framework while explaining which topic? Institution of Eminence topic. So the Institution of Eminence, the higher education institutions will be selected based on their rank which they get in the NIRF ranking. So NIRF, it is a ranking. So it is a ranking of higher educational institutions in the country. So these rankings are released by Ministry of Human Resource and Development. Right? Human Resource and Development. And these rankings are given subject wise. Let's say for the engineering, top colleges. Medicine, right? Top colleges. For the first time, dental institutions are also being included in this ranking. Okay. Similarly for business management. Right? For every and separately for universities. And overall performance will also be ranked. Right? So they make use of certain criteria like teaching outcomes, perception of the college, research outcomes. Okay, so based on certain criteria, Ministry of HRD, they will be ranking the higher educational institutions. For the first time, dental institutions are also being ranked. So this is part of NIRF. It was in news because they released the ranking. IIT Madras secured first rank in overall as well as in engineering also it stood first. Asiatic lion. Asiatic lion is found only in Gir National Park. It is found only in Gir National Park. Gir National Park in Gujarat, it is the only abode of Asiatic lion. Abode means home. Gir National Park is the only home for Asiatic lion. You will not find Asiatic lion in any other part of the world. It was also asked in 2019 prelims, if I am not wrong. Now, the forest officials from this Gir National Park, they conducted a survey. The forest officials, just a minute friends. Right, so I think now my volume is to some extent audible. I'm sorry, I will somehow change the mic from tomorrow's class, okay, or at least from Monday's class. Right, fine. So what I was saying, the forest officials of Gir National Park, they conducted a survey, lion survey. They said when compared to 2015, in 2020, the number of Asiatic lion got increased by 30%. The number of, it was somewhere around in 500s, it became 600s. The number became increased by 30%. That is a significant increase. That is a significant increase. Right. How this was possible? So how this increase was possible? So they are saying it is because of community participation, emphasis on technology, wildlife healthcare, proper habitat management, minimizing human-lion conflict. See, there is a broader topic called as man-animal conflict. In mains also you can expect a question on these line in GS paper 3 environmental section, man-animal conflict. Okay. So what is this man-animal conflict? Let us take the example of elephant. Let us take the example of elephant. Very simple. When there is a conflict between man and animal, we say man-animal conflict. Why it happens? You take elephant. Elephant every year they will go for a long walk. They will go for a long walk, and they will be following only one route. That route is called as elephant corridor. Okay, so these elephants, they will be going for a long walk. From one state to other state, it will be walking. Okay, and every year they go through this route, same route only. But what we are doing only in this route, we will be constructing highways. Only in this route, we will be constructing railways. Only in this route, we will be constructing resorts. Now what will happen? There will be man-animal conflict, or over a period of time, these elephants, by looking at this, they might try to change their route. They might try to change their route, but here there will be farm field. There will be farm field, then the elephants will be destroying the farm field. The farmers will be getting affected. Right. So here improvement was possible because by minimizing the human-lion conflict, by improving the habitat, by improving the healthcare, proper vaccination to be made to these animals, right, to protect themselves from various diseases. So all these, because of all these efforts, Asiatic lion population got increased. Some more information about Asiatic lion. There is a centrally sponsored scheme called as Asiatic Lion Conservation Project. Centrally sponsored schemes, generally the schemes are classified into two, you all know. One is central sector scheme, another one is centrally sponsored scheme. If it is going to be a central sector scheme, it is completely funded by central government. It is completely funded by central government. So here it will be shared by states and center. So this lion conservation, Asiatic Lion Conservation Project, it is a centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, so this is also one reason, government's effort is also one reason for improving the population of lion in this forest. Right. Some more information connected to this topic, that is canine distemper virus, CDV. Canine distemper virus. Friends, this virus, it causes a disease called as simply canine distemper virus disease. We simply call it as CDV disease, which will largely affect the dogs. Which will largely affect the dogs. Dogs will be affected. Right, in 2018, 20 lions were dead They died because of the infection of CDV virus. But just now I said CDV virus, it infects only dogs. But how it is causing death among lions? The CDV virus, it will not attack lion or tiger or any other big cat. It will not. But however, if this lion, if it is hunting this dog, if it is eating this dog, then lion can get this virus. So what happens? Here where we have to understand one topic called as carrying capacity. So carrying capacity, environmental concept. What is this? Every forest has a carrying capacity. That is a Gir forest, it can hold, assume some 600 lions. If you put 1000 lions in that area, then there is no resources for the lions, right? So every forest has a carrying capacity. This classroom has a carrying capacity. This classroom can accommodate 100 students. If 200 students come, they cannot be accommodated, right? Because the carrying capacity of this classroom is 100. Like that, the carrying capacity of each forest should be known. So the population in Gir National Park is increasing. The population in Gir National Park is increasing. So the population is actually exceeding the carrying capacity of Gir National Park. This is another problem. The population, lion population is exceeding the carrying capacity of the Gir National Park. So what happens if this is going to be the Gir National Park? Now the lions, the number of lion population is getting increased. So these lion, they are not able to find food inside the forest. So they come outside the forest. In YouTube there are many videos, lion, tiger, cheetah, they come into the village, they will hunt the dog, pet animals. We have seen, right? Why? Because of need of food. The Gir National Park is not providing sufficient food to meet the needs of the lions. So the lions, they come out and they hunt, they are hunting the dog. So because of which this lion is getting infected. And this lion, now this lion, after entering the forest, it is also infecting other lions. Are you clear? So this is the problem of CDV virus. 20 lions were dead in 2018. So government, Supreme Court, everybody intervened, and now they have arrived at a solution. Soon they will be implementing that. Why don't we translocate some of the lions to the neighboring sanctuaries? So Supreme Court was intervening, civil society was intervening, governments, state governments were intervening, and finally now the solution is very soon some of the Asiatic lions from the Gir National Park will be sent to Kuno Palpur Wildlife Sanctuary. Kuno Palpur Wildlife Sanctuary, that is in Madhya Pradesh. That is in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, make a note, that is in Madhya Pradesh. So this is one news. One more news I would like to add. Because of CDV, let me also add that one more news. Ranthambore Tiger Reserve. Ranthambore Tiger Reserve, it is in Rajasthan. Ranthambore Tiger Reserve, it is in Rajasthan. So if this is Ranthambore Tiger Reserve, then some around 80% of dogs, around Ranthambore Tiger Reserve are infected by this canine distemper virus. Okay, if you have pet animals, if your pet animals is infected because of canine distemper virus, then your pet animals, if you see pet animals' eyes, there will be pus like discharge from the eyes. It is also called as foot pad disease. If you take the foot of your pet animals, it will get thickened. That is also a symptom of this CDV. Sometimes the dog, it will keep circling itself in one place. It keeps circling without any reason. That is also an impact of canine distemper virus. If your pets are facing such symptoms, then immediately go and approach a veterinary doctor. Okay. Lonar Lake. So this lake is found in Buldana district in Maharashtra. This is a unique lake. This lake is formed after a meteorite hit. 50,000 years ago in Maharashtra in Buldana district, a meteorite, it hit a place, a crater was formed, and that crater was filled by water, and that became a lake. That lake we are calling it as Lonar Lake. So what is a meteorite? So we all know in space there will be some debris, okay, maybe asteroids. The asteroids, sometimes they hit with other asteroids, it breaks down, debris will be there, that because of the influence of Earth's gravity it will be attracted, it will come at a very high force and it will hit the Earth surface. Okay, so you all know about asteroids, right? So asteroids are found between which planets? Between Mars and Jupiter. So between Mars and Jupiter you will be finding this asteroids, some rocky substances, some rocky particles, not big like some planet, okay, but significantly big. They will also come around the sun. Largely it is found between the orbit of Mars and orbit of Jupiter. Between that you will find the presence of these asteroids. These asteroids sometimes, because of more traffic, they hit themselves, and some of the debris they might come towards the Earth. Some of the debris they might come towards the Earth, and that impact has created a crater which was filled with water and became a lake. We are calling it as Lonar Lake. Now why it was in use? This Lonar Lake color got changed. From blue color it got changed to pink color. So why there is a pink coloration? Why there is a pink coloration? Two reasons are being cited. So one reason, it may be because of algal bloom. It may be because of algal bloom. Right? What is algal bloom? That we have to understand. Many a times when we come across a water body, maybe a pond or a lake, sometimes we will find some green matty like substances which is floating above this water. That is nothing but this algae, this green matty like substance. Sometimes what happens, all of a sudden this green mat will be completely covering the entire lake, entire pond or big water reservoir. For some reason these algae population will increase, it will thrive, it will completely cover the lake, it will completely cover the upper surface, will be completely covered by this green color algae, green colored mat like algae will be formed. So why generally why algal bloom happens? That happens because of a concept called as eutrophication, environmental topic. Eutrophication, that means enrichment. So what happens if there is going to be an industry, if there is going to be industry near this lake, these industries, they will be discharging some pollutants. They will be discharging some pollutants. That pollutants are nothing but chemicals. That chemicals may result in thriving of these algae. For algae, those pollutants may be delicious food. They eat and they will thrive. Right? So because of that, what happens? The consequences, just imagine, sun is going to be the primary source of energy. When a thick green matty substance is formed over the lake, then sunlight cannot penetrate. When sunlight cannot penetrate, so bottom you will have fish, you will have small aquatic plants. Now all these aquatic plants, all these fish, they need sunlight. They need sunlight, right? So if this algal bloom continues, then the aquatic animals, aquatic plants will die. Not just that. See, the dissolved oxygen inside this water body will be dissolved. We simply say it is dissolved oxygen. That is already limited. In the present, dissolved oxygen will be used by the fishes and the aquatic plants. But however, when more algae are formed, these algae is going to consume more dissolved oxygen. So because of that, again the aquatic ecosystem will be getting affected. These are the problems of algal bloom in general. So whether algal bloom is the reason for this change in color, one set of researchers, they are saying that it could be algal bloom, but however there is no industries. So other set of researchers, they are saying that it could be because of some biogeochemical cycles. Biogeochemical cycles. A biogeochemical cycle is nothing but your nutrient cycles, right? Water cycle, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, sulfur cycle. In environment, you would have studied, right? All these comes under the heading called as biogeochemical cycles, right? Because of lockdown, complete calmness, people were not coming to this lake, they were not disturbing this. Maybe for some reason, this biogeochemical reactions would have resulted in this pink color formation. That was another set of researchers. They were giving these kind of versions. Some are saying maybe because of algal bloom, some are saying it may be because of some reactions happening in the biogeochemical cycles. But what is the exact reason? Study is going on, we do not know, right? But what is more important is Lonar Lake, where it is, okay, how it was formed. And this Lonar Lake is called as a National Geo-Heritage Monument. National Geo-Heritage Monument. Now we should know what is this National Geo-Heritage Monument. So there are certain geological sites in our country which are very unique. Geological sites means even a mountain is a geological site. Okay, a rock is a geological site. Minerals found in one location is also a geological site. But not every geological sites are unique. But you take this Lonar Lake. That Lonar Lake was formed because of a meteorite hit. So that is unique, right? Such unique geological sites will be given the status of National Geo-Heritage Monument. So who will give this status? So this status will be given by Geological Survey of India. Geological Survey of India. This Geological Survey of India, which comes under Ministry of Mines. Ministry of Mining, Mines. Okay. The Geological Survey of India was formed in the year 1851. For what purpose it was formed? It was formed to find out the coal, availability of coal resources in various parts of the country for effective functioning of railways. For railways, we need coal. So in 1851, this Geological Survey of India was set up to survey the availability of coal in different parts of the country. But now their objective is to survey the availability of various minerals, right? Various minerals from various parts of the country. This is about Geological Survey of India, right? Next one is Global Economic Prospects Report. Global Economic Prospects Report, it is released by World Bank. It is a biannual report. That means 2 times in a year it will be released. So it provides analysis of global macroeconomic indicators and its impact on its member countries. So global macroeconomic developments and their impact in the member countries. So twice in a year this report will be released. June month one report was released. Okay, global economic prospects. So what they were saying that globally there will be a recessionary situation. Globally we are heading towards recession. In India also the economy is facing contraction. So they are saying that in this fiscal, because of COVID-19, the economy will contract by 3.2%. We will contract by even more than that, not just 3.2%. But globally there will be recession. And World Bank says because of this corona, almost 10 crore people will be pushed to serious poverty, will be pushed to extreme poverty. So in this topic, Global Economic Prospects Report released by World Bank, biannual report, what do? They will study the global economic development, global macroeconomic developments, and they will give an in-depth analysis how it is going to impact the member countries. For India, they are saying that the economy will contract. Globally, there will be a recession. So here we have to understand the difference between the terms recession and slowdown. We often say economic slowdown. We often say recession also. Now what is the difference? There is a difference. Let us take a situation. Let's say India, it is growing, India's GDP in 2015. Assume it is 1 lakh crores. Assume it is 1 lakh crore. In 2016, it is growing by 10%. It is growing by 10%. 10%. Now in 2017, it becomes 1.25 lakh crores. Assume it is growing by 15%. Right? In 2018, assume it is growing by 1.5 lakh crores. So assume that it is growing by 20%. So year after year, we are able to see a growth in GDP. But however, in 2019, from I'm numbering this. Okay. Assume that from 2018, now it is becoming 1.65 lakh crores. Assume it is becoming 1.65 lakh crores. That means it is GDP is growing only. GDP is growing. In 2018 it was 1.5. In 2019 it is 1.65 lakh crores. But what is the growth rate? The growth rate got reduced. From 20 it became 10%. Now 2020. Assume that from 1.65 if it is going to become 1.70 lakh crores. GDP is increasing, but the growth rate has further declined, say roughly 3%. Now, when the growth rate is declining, GDP is increasing. GDP is increasing only as a number. GDP is increasing, but however, if growth rate is declining, then that we will say it as slowdown. That we will say it as economic slowdown. I hope you are able to follow. Right? In all the case, 1 lakh crore, 1.10, 1.25, 1.5, 1.65, 1.7, GDP as a number is increasing. But look at the growth rate, 10%, 15%, 20%, right? Then falling back to 10%, then falling to 3%. This is slowdown. Now imagine in 2021, if our GDP becomes 1.4 lakh crores. If our GDP becomes 1.4 lakh crores, that means here, even GDP as a number is also falling. That means we are saying negative growth. So when there is a negative growth, see from 1.7, we are falling to 1.4. That means GDP as a number is also not increasing. So we are achieving a negative growth. When we achieve negative growth, then that is called as recession. That situation is called as a recession. So have clarity on these terms, recession and slowdown. Fugitive economic offender. In 2018, Fugitive Economic Offender Act was introduced. So what this act says? An individual who is committing a financial crime, there are so many financial crimes, but this act it is listing out certain crimes. This act is listing out certain crimes. These are called as scheduled crimes. Okay, so certain crimes has been listed by this act. So an individual who is committing a financial crime, any of this financial crime, any of this scheduled offense, if he is committing any of this offense, if that crime involves money of more than 100 crores, right, and he is escaping, to abroad. Now he is escaping to abroad, and he is not willing to come back. He is not cooperating for the trial. In that situation, a special court will be appointed. A special court will be created for this purpose, and the special court will designate this person as fugitive economic offender. The moment a person is declared as a fugitive economic offender, then this person's asset can be confiscated. All his assets can be confiscated. Not just his assets, his Binami assets can be confiscated. Not just that, he would have been affiliated with other organizations, right? That organization assets can also be confiscated. He may be in UK, But however, all his assets can be confiscated in India. Can be confiscated in India without his presence. His Benami's properties, his affiliated associations, organizations' properties, everything can be confiscated. Not just that, the moment a person is called as a fugitive economic offender, the moment a person is called as a fugitive economic offender, all the courts and tribunals in the country are empowered, all the courts and tribunals in the country are empowered to disentitle this person from filing any civil cases, civil suits. This person, let's say if Guna is announced as a fugitive economic offender, then let's say there is some case between myself and my relative, some land case, some civil dispute. This is different from the financial crime, no way connected to financial crime, but there is some case between myself and my neighbor or my relative, whatever, imagine. The moment a special court declares me as fugitive economic offender, then any court, any tribunal can disentitle me from filing or defending any civil suit, not criminal case, only civil cases. I cannot file or defend any civil case. For the first time, special court has designated Nirav Modi as fugitive economic offender, and it has ordered the enforcement directorate to go and confiscate his properties. That is why it was in news. Right? I hope you all know about Nirav Modi scam, Punjab National Bank scam. Right? Nirav Modi, Punjab National Bank scam. If you want me to explain, tell me in the doubt session, I will briefly explain. Okay, we'll move on to the next topic. Okay, misconception on monetization. There was one editorial topic in Hindu which I feel very important from mains perspective. From prelims point of view also, there are so many conceptual clarity you can get from this article, right? I have made a video on credit rating. Okay, kindly go and watch. Friends, I'm again telling you, watch all the videos which I am uploading in the 200 Hitler series. Not just 200, I will be uploading some other concepts as well. Okay, so kindly watch all those. Certain topics I will repeat in class, because in class I have the luxury to elaborate certain topics. In YouTube videos, right, I try to confine my discussion. Okay, so here certain topics it will be very clear in the YouTube videos itself, which I will just ask you to do directly. Certain topics I will discuss here also. Okay, so kindly watch this topic video on credit rating which I have made on rating. Okay, kindly watch it. Friends, misconception on monetization. We all know rating agencies, they generally rate companies. They generally rate the company. Whenever a company, when they are coming up with a bond, let us say L&T is coming up with a bond worth 1,000 crores. Now based on the rating given to L&T, okay, L&T rating is AA plus. Now I will see, oh, L&T rating is AA plus, now we can invest in this bond. So I will go and invest in this bond. Now these rating agencies, they also rate the country. Moody, S&P, Standard & Poor, there are some rating agencies, they will rate the individual countries. So when they rate the country, when the rating agencies, when they rate the country, what happens if India, let's say India is having AA plus. Now the rating is getting reduced to AAA minus. So whenever there is going to be a fall in rating, okay, We will take B. Okay, fine. BBB. From BBB, if it becomes BBB minus, or if it goes to BBB plus. Assume if India's rating is increased or decreased, that will have an impact on investments. Assume that if the rating is decreased, now what happens? Your FTA, your FII, that will fall. Your foreign investors, they will look into the rating. Okay, Moody has given rating of BBB plus to India. We will go and invest. BBB minus, they have reduced it. Okay, we will go invest in Bangladesh. We will go invest in Vietnam. So this FTA, FII, to bring more FDI and FII, the rating becomes very crucial. Now Moody, right, they are seeing the performance of Indian economy. Even before Corona coming to India, in 2019 itself, we started facing economic slowdown. Right? In 2020, now it is going to be Corona. Now because of these reasons, our GDP is falling. Because of these reasons, our GDP is falling. Since our GDP is falling, Moody, the credit rating agencies, they are saying to India, we are going to reduce your rating. So what happens if rating is reduced? FDI, FII inflow will be affected. When FDI, FII inflow is getting affected, then our forex will be affected. Our foreign exchange reserve. So RBI, it maintains this forex reserve, right? So we need adequate amount of forex reserve, only then we can import. From where we will get this forex reserve? So when you export more, you will get forex. When there is FTI, when there is FII, you will get forex. So if FDI, FII is going to reduce, then your forex will be affected. Ultimately, when you don't have sufficient dollars in your forex basket, if you don't have sufficient dollars, then we may also face balance of payment crisis. Balance of payment crisis. Right? See, these are basic economy terms. I hope you all know this. Okay, balance of payment crisis. So BOP means what? A situation where you don't have sufficient foreign currency to buy import. Right? If you don't have sufficient dollars, how will you buy oil? 86% of your energy is being met through imports. Your oil needs are met through imports. You cannot stop importing. If you want to import, you need dollar. From where you will get dollar? You will get dollar when you export more. When foreigners comes and invest in India, they will bring dollars. So if FDI, FII falls, then your dollar reserve will fall. Then how will you import? So these are the consequences of rating, poor rating for the countries. So now what we have to do? Now government, they have to increase the GDP. So how to increase the GDP? To increase the GDP, they need to increase the money supply. Why to increase the money supply? When money supply is increased, then there will be investments. There will be investments. When people have more money, they will invest. Or when people have more money, they will consume. When people consume more, that is going to result in increase in demand. To meet the demand, there will be production. When there is investments, with that there will be new productions. When there is production, GDP is going to increase. So we have to increase the money supply. So how to increase the money supply? Monetary Policy Committee. Monetary Policy Committee, I explained in the previous class. In 2019, from 2019 Jan, okay, till the end of 2020, I mean till the end of 2019, Jan 2020, 5 times consecutively they have reduced the repo rate. 5 times consecutively they reduced the repo rate. The repo rates were reduced by 139 basis points. But still money supply was not increased. Because of some problem, right, money supply was not able to be increased. That is why RBI came with Operation Twist. Operation Twist we will see later. Okay. So 5 times Monetary Policy Committee, 5 times they reduce repo rate. So further Monetary Policy Committee cannot reduce because already it has reduced a lot but no improvement. So now the government, they have to take fiscal expansion. They have to go for more spending. They have to take fiscal measures. They have to go for more spending. They have to announce fiscal stimulus. They have to come up, they have to stimulate. They have to come up with fiscal stimulus packages. So what happens if government has to spend more? And you should know already government in the 2020-21 budget, government said already there is shortage of funds. Almost 7+ lakh crores government they are planning to borrow. To meet the regular expenditure, government is going to borrow 7+ lakh crores. This borrowing amount is called as fiscal deficit. This borrowing amount is called as fiscal deficit. Already fiscal deficit is high. Now government, because of this economic slowdown, they thought, okay, let us increase the fiscal deficit by 1 more percentage. Let us borrow extra because we have to stimulate the economy. But still this is not sufficient. This is not sufficient. So people are asking government, you borrow more and you spend. But what is the problem in borrowing? When you borrow more, you have to pay more interest. Interest payments will increase. When you borrow more, interest payments will increase. Your outstanding debt will increase. When government's outstanding debt increases, then the interest payments will increase. And you should know the biggest expenditure in the government's budget, the highest expenditure in the government's budget is interest payments. Almost 6+ lakh crores every year we are paying as interest. 6+ lakh crores we are paying as interest. So interest payments is the highest expenditure of all the expenditure. Interest payments is the highest expenditure. So if you are continuously, if you are going to borrow, interest payments is going to be one biggest problem. Not just that, when the public debt, there's a term, public debt to GDP ratio. When the public debt to GDP ratio, that means government's public debt means government's debt. Government's debt as a percentage of GDP, right? When this public debt to GDP ratio, if it is going to increase, again the credit rating agencies, they will decrease their rating. Too much of borrowing is also not good, right? If GDP increases, okay. If GDP is not increasing, we are simply borrowing, then it is not good. To overcome this problem, many economists, they were pitching an idea, that is, why don't we print currency? Why don't we print currency? The moment people are saying that, some economists are saying that government can print currency, other set of economists in civil society, they were saying, no, this is going to increase inflation. This is going to increase inflation. But however, the economists who are suggesting printing currency, they said, no, it is not going to increase inflation. You have wrongly understood how monetization happens in India. How monetization happens in India. So in India, how it happens? In India, don't think that government will simply ask RBI, go print 10,000 crores, print 1 lakh crores. No, RBI will, government will not do like that. So government, they will be issuing a government security. They will be issuing a bond. Let's say this bond is 10,000 crores. Okay, this bond, since RBI is going to buy, this bond interest will be less, 3%. Okay, repayment period 2 years. Now government will ask RBI to buy this bond. Now RBI will buy this bond. Now against this bond, RBI is going to print money. Against this bond, RBI is going to print money. Now this money government will infuse in the market. So this money will be infused in the market. So the money supply increases. As money supply increases, I explained how production increases. And government they are borrowing 10,000 crores from RBI and they are spending. And this 10,000 crores within 2 years has to be given back to RBI, right? So what government will do with this money in 2 years or 3 years? They will try to stimulate the economy. They will try to stimulate the economy once the economy is getting recovered. Once the economy is getting recovered, government will repay this 10,000 crores to RBI. So the money supply injected in the market is not going to stay in the market permanently. Only when it stays in the market permanently, there is going to be inflation. But however, we are going to take the money out after 2 years, after 3 years, once the economy is getting recovered, that will be taken out. That will be taken out. You may ask, sir, after 2-3 years, how government will get money? That is government's tension. Government may impose taxes, might increase the corporate tax, might increase some fine. Somehow it will get the money and they will give it back to RBI. The idea of this printing money and spending money is to rotate the money temporarily, stimulate the economy, recover the economy, then get the money back. Okay, so the economists who were suggesting that printing currency can work, we will monetize the deficit, we will print currency and spend. So they were keeping this in mind, and they were also saying that inflation immediately it will not increase. Already people they are consuming less. Various products the price has fallen. Only few products, because of, let's say, food items, fuel items, that is beyond the control of government. Okay, only those products the prices are high. If you take other products, the prices are falling. So people will not immediately, they will, once the money supply is infused, don't think that people is going to go for revenge consumption. The people will not go immediately, they are not going to buy, they are not going to spend extremely, they will spend, but extremely they will not do. And even if they are doing it extremely, in short run, in 1-2 years, inflation will not increase. Because already the prices have fallen, already slowed down, globally recessionary mode. So this money supply staying in the economy for 2 or 3 years will give more growth than inflation. That is what the economists were saying. Right? So there was an article on misconception on monetization. But many people are thinking that printing currency is bad, but in this situation we can print currency is what the economists were saying. We can go through this article. Right. Next one. Permafrost. So what is permafrost? These are ground that remains frozen, that is, it remains at 0 degrees Celsius minimum for 2 years. Then that will be called as permafrost. Ground that remains frozen some 0 degrees Celsius minimum for 2 years, then that ground will be calling it as permafrost. You will find these permafrost regions in the polar regions, in the mountains. Okay, top of the mountains you will find this permafrost. Right, snow filled, ice filled regions. Permanently it will be in the form of ice. Permanently frost, permafrost. Okay. Roughly around 22% of Earth's surface is in the form of permafrost. Right? But remember, in some areas, if this is going to be the assume this is the ice. Okay, the ground is completely in the form of ice. But in the above layer, the surface layer, you might find some vegetation. Right? In the upper layer alone, you will find some vegetation. If you see such vegetation, don't think that it is not permafrost. Upper layer, there can be some vegetation. But if you look at the entire ground level, the ground, it is completely ice. Okay. Sometimes, see, if we go to Russia, Canada, tundra, they are having tundra climates, right? So you will find a thick carpet-like vegetation in the surface. But below that, if you dig deeply, you will find only ice. That is also permafrost. Okay, so why it was in news? It was in news because US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, some organization in USA, they are coming up with a study and they are saying that the Arctic regions are warming twice as fast compared to the rest of the planet. The Arctic regions are warming very fastly. So the report was saying that if there is going to be a 1 degree Celsius rise in temperature, then 39 lakh square kilometers of permafrost will be degraded because of thawing. Thawing means breakdown of ice because of warming. Okay, breakdown of ice, softening of ice, melting of ice. All these are examples of. All these are examples. This is an example. This is one example. Breakdown or meltdown or softening of ice because of warming, that is called as thawing. So because of this increase in temperature, because of rise in 1 degree Celsius temperature, you will see a degrading of this region by 39 lakh square kilometers. By the end of this century, it is expected that if the trend continues, by the end of century, 40% of world's permafrost region will be melted. Right? Then what will happen? What are the consequences? Sea level will rise, landslides, floods, infrastructure damage, and most importantly, so assume that these ice, majority of the permafrost region, it was formed in the pre-glacial. You know this in the history, the Paleolithic period, there was ice age, right? So in that age, these ice were formed, right? So just imagine there was some thick vegetation, trees, vegetation. All of a sudden, thick ice was formed because of continuous snowfall or whatever. Now thick ice has been formed. Now all these vegetation or all the animals, if you are going to drill this ice, at the bottom you will find partially decomposed vegetation, partially decomposed animals, right? Because see, imagine if the entire Chennai, because of climate change, suddenly snowfall, everybody, we are getting submerged under ice. Because of ice, we will not be completely decomposed. After millions of years, if the ice is getting melted, then what will happen? The dead remains of the vegetation, plants, animals, human beings, everything will be exposed. Now when all these are exposed, once the ice is getting melted, then all the trees, etc., if it is getting exposed, then the bacteria will come and decompose. When the bacteria and other microorganisms, when they come and decompose the leftover organic matter, then what will happen? A large amount of carbon will be released, carbon dioxide will be released, greenhouse gases will be released. Are you getting my point? Just imagine entire Chennai, now continuously for 1 year the snowfall, we all are getting covered under ice. There is no living thing now, everything is covered, entire earth is covered under ice. Now maybe after millions of years ago, because of increase in temperature, the ice is getting melted. Now we are beneath the ice, dead only, but we are partially decomposed. Once it is melted, then we are exposed, then some bacteria, microorganisms, they will come and, right, they will complete the decomposition process. So during the decomposition process, many greenhouse gases can be emitted. Carbon dioxide will be emitted, organic content, right? Carbon will be there, right? Everything will be released. Everything will be released. Not just that, so many virus, so many bacteria which got submerged under the ice. Now those viruses can be exposed when the ice is melted. Million years ago, some different kinds of corona was there. Everything got submerged under ice. Now if ice is getting melted, then those viruses can be exposed to today's environment. So new diseases can come. data says if there is going to be a 1 degree Celsius rise in average temperature, then if there is going to be a 1 degree rise in the temperature, then the melting of permafrost will release carbon, will release greenhouse gases, which is equivalent to greenhouse gases emitted by burning carbon, oil, natural gas. It is equivalent to burning of coal, it is equivalent to burning of coal, oil, natural gas for 6 years. See, assume that how much quantity of greenhouse gas will be released by burning coal, oil, natural gas in the world in past 6 years. Assume in 6 years how much greenhouse gas would have been emitted by burning coal, oil, natural gas. That much greenhouse gases will be released from the permafrost meltdown if the global temperature is getting increased by 1 degree Celsius. If the global temperature is getting increased by 1 degree Celsius, then that will result in emission of greenhouse gases. What would be the quantity? They are comparing. They are saying that in 6 years, how much greenhouse gases is emitted by burning coal, oil, natural gas. That much greenhouse gas will be released from the meltdown of permafrost region when the global temperature is increased by 1 degree Celsius. Right? So dangerous. Apart from that, other impact is this thermokarst lake. Friends, so this is a ice permafrost region. Okay. Now because of increase in temperature, because of increase in temperature, now this ice will be melted. This ice will be melted and there will be some craters formed that will be filled with water. So this area, ice is getting melted and you have water. Now the local communities, they come to this region, they consume this water because fresh water. The local communities in the Arctic regions, etc., they consume this water. Now when the thawing is going to increase, what happens? Many such lakes will be formed, but however, if it is continuing, what will happen? If it is going to continue, what will happen? Now all these water, let us say here we have ocean, assume here we have ocean. Now all this water is going to flow in the ocean and there will be a fall in the freshwater resource. There will be fall in the freshwater resource. These lakes are called as thermokarst lakes. These are depressions formed when thawing, permafrost collapsed and filled with meltwater. Right? So these are the impacts of thawing of permafrost. Fine. Next one is Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan. Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan. Now, because of this corona lockdown, almost 1 crore people, they migrated back to their hometown. Out of this 1 crore, some 67 lakh people are worst hit. Yeah, I am also a migrant. I am from different place. I am coming in Chennai and I am working. But I was not worst hit. But there are many people, 67 lakh people, they are worst hit, it seems. These 67 lakh people, they belong to 116 districts. And these belongs to 6 states. What are those 6 states? Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Jharkhand, Odisha. So, these 67 lakh people, they went back to their districts, but in that district, they don't have any work. They are suffering. To help these 67 lakh migrants, government, they have allocated almost 50,000 crore for public work. In this 116 districts. So now 50,000 crores will be spent in this 116 districts for public work. What kind of work? Putting road, constructing bridge, whatever. Okay, so now the 67 lakh people, they will be employed in this public work for 125 days. So for 125 days, the 67 lakh migrants, right, without any occupation, they are staying in their hometown, right? So now these 67 lakh people, they will be getting a chance to work under this, I mean, they will be getting a chance to work for 125 days, and they will be given employment by improving the public work in 116 districts. For that purpose, government has allocated 50,000 crores under the scheme called as Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan. Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan. Right? Public works worth 50,000 crore would be carried out in these districts to provide immediate relief to these workers. So workers will be employed in rural housing, rural connectivity, say Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, construction of rural roads, construction of national highways, railway works, sanitation work, whatever work. Right? And the scheme will be available for 125 days. If required, it will be extended. Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan. Sagar Mitra. Sagar Mitra. In the previous class, I explained about TULIP. What is a TULIP? The Urban Learning Internship Program. TULIP. I said fresh engineers will be given a chance to work with the urban local bodies, right? Like that here, NCDC, National Cooperative Development Corporation. National Cooperative Development Corporation. So NCDC was established through an act, it's a statutory body. What is the under Ministry of Agriculture? Now, what is the purpose of NCDC? They will take up activities to promote production, processing, export, import of agriculture produce. Exporting, taking efforts to export agriculture produce, export trade basically, right? Foodstuffs, promoting production, processing, marketing, all those stuff. Now, the Sagar Mitra is a program, initiative of NCDC, where graduates, they can work with NCDC and other cooperatives as paid interns. As paid interns. Preferences will be given to agricultural graduates. Preferences will be given to agricultural graduates, MBA graduates. Now these young professionals, they are having an opportunity to get a practical exposure of learning from NCDC and other cooperatives as paid interns. Like TULIP, this is Sagar Mitra. Sagar Mitra. Right? Right, friends? I will stop here. So I hope the class was useful.